Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble, and you know where you're at. You're on the lifeboat. Probably seems like a little late in the day for the lifeboat, doesn't it? You're thinking this daylight savings crap really messed me up. Holy hell, isn't he usually on like hours earlier than this? Well, we've had a lot of people that thought it might be a better idea if we went just a little bit later. In fact, a heck of a lot of you. Rona, thank you. Welcome. Should there be any new watchers, please hang around. It will get better if we work together. Yep. Hey, everyone. Hugs, prayers, healing, energies, good vibes all around. Thank you, Rona. Mischief Manners, good to see you. Tree Hugger, glad you're here. Hey, Flick Fox. Elizabeth, is that Whitney? Yes, Whitney, how are you? Whitney. I know where you think I'm going with this. What? Whip? Sandy Wandy, good to see you. Shannon Smith, what's happening? Is this a cat girl afternoon? Well, not quite. I mean, I know I'm running, we're starting a slightly, but I'm sure where you are it is. Rolling Stone, how are you? Joey girl, good to see you. It's nice to see you too. You look excellent. Cheryl Niles, nice to see you. Yankee Kyle, always a pleasure. Congratulations on that 35 and climbing. Meredith Lynn, good to see you. Killy Billy, what's happening? Bayou Babe. Boy, the whole crew is appearing. I like it. Miss Lady Hummingbird, Subi, always good to see you. Brandon Calloway, I know I've said this 100 times, but I had such a good friend growing up. I used to ski with, and she could ski with the boys. Like she was an absolutely amazing skier, and she was Subi. It's her last name started with B. We call her Subi. I loved her. She's a great girl. Her boyfriend of like 6 years no-showed her at her high school graduation, and I happened to be going to her high school graduation. It's just one of those really cool things. So, and her boyfriend at the time was just a jerk. We were friends in high school and never really got along, but it was great because I picked her up at the graduation and we just kicked it all night. We went to like the equivalent of a Denny's, except we didn't have those where I grew up, but we went to a Denny's and kind of a thing. And I would love to tell like a really great, torrid affair story to bum out her boyfriend, but we ate at a kind of like an all-night diner thing, and then I drove her to where she was going to college for her orientation and dropped her off. But it was fun. And every time I see your name, I flash back to it. Very cool. Prue, good to see you. You can see me. little dark last night. Sorry about that. Zelda, good to see you. Nancy, what's happening? Christy. Yeah. Good to see you live. Good to see you live. Look at that. Charlie Murphy, what's happening? Joanne Rice, good to see you. 3 months sober today. How good is that? You know something, Rolling Stone? We've been together now a hot minute. 3 months. Boy, that went quick, didn't it? I am so proud of you. As I have said, I am not ever going to apologize for saying that again. This is what we do. I bet everybody here is proud of you. Tell you what, let's just see. How about a 5 for some pride? What do you think? Huh? You want to see me make a bunch of people mad? Let's do it. Let's make a bunch of people mad. Guess what? It's worth being proud of. Huh? Something you achieved. Right? Let's not walk around screaming that we're proud of something simply because that's how we are. I don't know. Always been really, really freaked out by people who pride should be something that is an accomplishment, right? You know what I mean? Not proud particularly of anything so much that I want to come up and introduce myself that way. Hi, how you doing? Tommy, I sleep with women. You know what I mean? I'm proud of it. Like that's an odd thing to me. But I am proud as hell of Rolling Stone, man. 3 months, people. That's 90 days. That is 90 days. That's the big time. That is the big time. Man, oh man, how good does that feel? How good does it feel for your brain? Because I will promise you, that your brain is fully functioning at this point. You know this, yeah? How good does that feel? You are fully functional. Give you an idea, people. If ASAP, good to see you. I just finished leaving you I just commented on a comment of yours right before I went live. Killy Billy, looking good in green. What's happening? Uh-oh. I'm touching buttons I'm not supposed to be touching. But my engineer should occasionally be able to sleep in. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. This is my icebreaker. It's been out there the whole time. I feel stupid. Oh, I feel silly. Maybe I would have had more success that way, huh? Kind of the upfront thing, huh? How you doing? Tommy Scoville, pretty fond of sleeping blooming. Shit, what am I thinking? I'm sorry, what? Let me, boy, if that's the case, let me do some clarification. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and apparently I'm not sober. I'm sober, and I take Suboxone every day. That's got nothing to do with it. I promise. You taking Suboxone to get high, Sativa? I'm thinking probably not. And if you are, you know something I don't, because that crap just does not get you high. I realize it will probably do things to people who aren't like us, but we are like us. Opiate use disorder. Absolutely. Subs make you sober. Hello. That's exactly right. I think, for me, let me tell you how my experience was. I actually got sober without it, right? I would say primarily because I didn't really understand it, right, at all. That's number one. And then number two, number one, I didn't, boy, did I not understand it. Like I even sold the stuff. I had been around it a lot. I had touched it and played with it and done it, but I always took it in hopes of getting high, right? So people would say, "Oh yeah, I got a bunch of Suboxone." I'd be on the street. I'd go, "I'll try that crap." I haven't done anything in 9 hours, 10 hours. You're starting to feel bad or whatever. I'd say, "I'll try that," and you'd fire the stuff under your tongue or whatever, and I would go, "This doesn't do a damn thing," and it doesn't, right? Just what it does is it tricks your brain into believing that you might have just fixed. It's an agonist antagonist, is what it is. Very fascinating drug. It really is. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm an absolute fan. I really need to research the injection, and I mean personally. I've done a bunch of research on the Sublocade or the injectable version of Suboxone, the 1 month shot. I think it's a very, very cool concept. I love the idea of not having to think about it every morning. And not, I don't know, it's not so much for me. I went, as I was saying, I went 5 years cold turkey. Inside prison, they're not saying to you, "Here, would you like to do Suboxone as a way to get clean?" That's not an option. I got thrown in a cell, right? But that's good. It was actually a good thing. Hold on one second. Ran out of hair dye yesterday. Used my husband's just for men beard wash. Oh, it worked. I thought it would share. I love that. I love that. You did your whole dome with it. It's awesome. I have no longer using the product. I'm sure they're butthurt. I was advertising for them for free, but wow, Valerie, you are one of the only people I've ever met with the same story. Very cool. So I went 5 years. Did no dope over the course of that 5 years. But during the course of that 5 years, I did a whole lot of white knuckling it. Right? I mean, I did a whole lot of white knuckling it. And I met someone I met a doctor that cared. And I was really mean and rude to her. I really was. I was Tommy at his absolute worst. I wish you people could have seen just how ugly I got. Right? I just was not very nice at all in any way. But the cool thing was, she was kind anyway. And, um, I had to get approval from the United States of America to get this substance. Unlike any of the other substances, I can get a prescription written for just about anything, but I had to get my probation officer was going to have to say, "Oh, it's okay that you can take this because you understand you leave prison not on it." So you're going to be saying, "Oh, I want to," and I had already been out of prison for over a year. I'd been, living chemical free out of prison for a year when I was contacted by the doctor, and the the doctors, said it takes about 7 to 9 months to get an approval on this. I said, I am going home in, I can't remember what it was, 7 days. It was something really short. It was less than a week. I said, so let's not waste each other's time. And she said, listen, I'll fill it out. And, try to not get out there and do the best you can, keep doing exactly what you were doing. And maybe if you get lucky, they'll approve it. And at that point, and blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, great. And they approved me within 48 hours. How about that? And it was crazy because she actually sent me the paper, and there's a little form, and at the top it said it's either good candidate or bad candidate, right? And there's like a check mark box or something along those lines, and they had written the candidate. Do they make me do drug screens now? I do not do drug screens for anybody, and the people who write me the prescriptions for my Suboxone do not do drug screens. They do not. That's just how it is. And that's lovely. I go through QuickMD. That is the service that I use. I have been nothing but wildly happy with QuickMD. They were not the first provider that I went with when I got out of when I first started. I was going with somebody else. It was very expensive, and it was a colossal pain in the can. I had to go in and see these people, and then I had to go in and drug test, and it felt very much like prison. It didn't feel like freedom in any way. I have no probation left. I'm done. In July of last year, July of last year, July of last year, July of 2023, Tommy Scoville became a free man. That's why I am here. I wouldn't have been able to move or do any of that stuff. When you're a federal inmate, and now someone's going to guarantee is going to go, I moved, you can move. But it's called an interstate commerce pack, and it's a pain in the butt. And it just is hopping through all kinds of hoops. And when you get where you're going, the new probation officer is going to defecate all over you because he doesn't want you on his caseload, right? They're always, I've had one probation officer in particular who was one of the coolest guys ever. And we actually got to be, I think, as close to friends as you could be with that kind of dynamic, right? With somebody who can completely control your life. But he was super respectful, super cool. But I remember talking to him and when I was back in and said, I'm thinking of maybe moving. I'll do an interstate commerce pack when I get out. I have been writing. And he said, oh, no, they're not going to do that. So I'm just telling you right now, there's no way anyone's going to take you. No, my God, meds are never free. I'm sorry, Debbie P. I don't know how. I don't know how I don't know how. I must have been really tired when I said that one. Now, I'll tell you something. You know what is cool is that they are recommending the Lifeboat. Now is if you're going to QuickMD, and there's a couple of other ones that you can now say you're counseling, or they'll say, are you going to AA or NA, or you're going, because they want you to do peer support on top of anything else. And we are now considered peer support. Well, doesn't that make you just feel warm and fuzzy? Because I swear to God, it does to me. Tampa B says, I don't even remember what my probation officer looked like. I've had 8. And I can remember what every single one of them looked like. I promise you. I can remember their names. And 3 of them were nice people. 1 was an incredible human being, and 2 were kind. Anthony Powell. You're taking ownership and responsibility. If that is a relapse, my brother, if that is a relapse, taking ownership is fantastic. Dusting yourself off and getting back up is essential. It doesn't matter what you did. There's not any reason to walk away. You understand? This isn't a walk away kind of a thing. When you screw up around here, it means you need to stay more, not walk away, for real. Now, if you beat a child or a woman, go ahead and leave. If what you did had nothing to do with either of those things, then stick around and I promise you we can figure this out. Right? I don't have a whole lot of use for people that hurt children and women, but there's not much else we can't get past. Feel me? It just isn't. So stick around, Anthony. And I'll tell you something else. When it's ugliest and it's darkest, right, and we feel like it's at its ugliest point, I freaking promise you, that's where growth happens. Ever grow any weed, Anthony? Huh? Did you ever grow any weed? Anybody here ever grow any weed? Here's how it works. You stick the stuff into the ground, or you put it into a rock wool cube, or however you're going to do it. Because see, we've gotten really high tech. There's no dirt anymore. Right now, we use these little things that look like fiberglass insulation, except they're green. Right? You stick your stuff in there, and you start taking your clones, whatever. Right? You flood the ebb and flow table, got a little water on there, and the stuff starts to grow. And then you know what you do? You keep the light on it 24 hours a day. Okay, 24 hours a day, you keep the light on it. It just continues to grow and it continues to grow and it continues to grow. It's a beautiful thing. You can grow that thing 70 feet tall, right? You could grow it 500 feet across. If you had a big enough place and you just kept the light on it 24 hours a day and gave it some food and water, that's what would happen. But it's never going to flower. Nothing cool is ever going to happen. It just doesn't. Now, you want to see some buds? You're going to have to stress the crap out of that plant. And you're going to do that by throwing it into darkness, right? For about 12 hours. About half that day, all of a sudden, you're just going to shut that puppy off. No more light. The plant panics, right? And then crazy stuff starts pushing, nutrients and saps and things, thinking, what? Help. Well, guess what, my friend? I didn't do a whole lot of growing until I was in some really serious darkness. And unfortunately, that is very, very normal behavior for people who have somehow bought a ticket to this boat. Yeah? That's just kind of how it goes. And I'll be honest with you, man, you didn't get particularly lucky either, honestly. There's luck involved in everything. I appreciate the hell out of you taking responsibility, because it's an important thing that we take responsibility for the things that we do. But I'll keep it real. Had you found this boat pretty much any other time of the year, you would have had a different experience. You would have. Boat's been real rugged for the last 5 days, right? The founder of the lifeboat isn't on the street. He's in prison, and he had a stroke. Fortunately, he had an ischemic stroke, but he had a stroke. And then a very, very popular and loved crew member passed. But without those, there would have been a lot more people descending on you, including me. So that sucks, and that's just on the circumstances. So you're going to take some responsibility. I think I could probably take some responsibility. Thank you so much, Arlen. You have to be kidding. Thank you so much. You are so kind. Good Lord. Holy hell. Wow. Thank you so much. That is, boy, we got a lot of ensigns, don't we? A lot of them just showed up. You know something? Here you go, Anthony. I have good news for you. If you're going to be losing your communication because you're going to get your probation revoked, something along those lines, you dropped a hot, right? Guess what? How many of those do you think I've done? If you dropped a hot, you know what that means, people? That means that he went in there and peed in a cup and they got it bummed out and said, that's it, right? Oh, wow. Thanks again. 50 is unbelievable, but how cool is this? Tommy, my former drug connection, called me last night. 4 months ago, I would have jumped in my car. Last night, I just laughed and ghosted the call. I guess they missed me. Too bad, huh? Yeah. You know what? Like I've said before, every once in a while, man, there really are. And maybe it's a heroin thing, but there really are, or there used to be. Once it became a very impersonal thing, and the people that are driving the stuff out, 99% of the time, call me a racist, whatever. 99% of the time, I don't even speak the language of the guy that delivers the dope. He understands that I'm asking for white or black, right? Blanco negro. There's no communication. But in the old days, I mean, you had the heroin dealer had to trust you. This was a terrifying drug, and it was a very tight little knit. And there were times, honestly, where you would, if you were coming off of being clean or whatever, you'd call the dope man. They were never fired up. They really weren't. They would go, come on, Iraq, you don't want to do this. Seriously, man, you don't want to do this. How long you got? How long you got? Don't do this. Don't do this. And I mean, they would sell to you, but they would actually make you feel guilty for doing it. Because the other day, somebody mentioned that, and people went, "Oh man, you don't see that." I promise you, among heroin dealers, it used to be. Again, there's so much money for all you need is about 3 people buying from you. They buy all the time. Yep, I had a dealer back in the day that would always say, "I'm in your hood," like you can resist. Yeah, I remember that one too. The closest I ever got to a dealer, his name was Art. He's a Mexican cat. His name was Art, and for Arturo. But what happened is, I was bald, right, and all of the guys used to refer to me as Pelon, and the word got around that the bald guy might punch you in the head and take your stuff. So it was very difficult to get anybody to sell to me. Hold on one second. Hold on. Figuring out neural pathways. If you're in a bad negative headspace, the new neural pathway will be permanent negativity in thoughts, not just bad habits. Dubious. I feel like I'm trying to understand Schrodinger's cat for the first time. So let's run this through, because I feel unintelligent, and it might just be the time of the day. But it's now known that THC and CBD forces the brain to reroute neural pathways. If you're in a bad negative headspace, the new neural pathway will be permanent negativity in thoughts, not just bad habits. Again, I'm trying to because so we don't do a lot of research here in the States, or haven't in the past done a lot of research in the States, unless we had an outcome we were looking for in the experiment. That's a problem, right? Because what you're looking for, very often you're going to find. And for a very long time, we wanted to villainize the drug weed. By the way, I'm not here to advocate nothing. Just hear me out before you start freaking out on me. From there, what ends up happening is you don't get necessarily solid science, right? You don't necessarily get solid science. You get what And it's interesting to see very often who used to bankroll these studies. Oddly enough, you know who used to really do a lot of negative stuff on that stuff was the big tobacco. Zenwen, I love you. I was thinking of you last night, and we have not communicated in a long time. I was thinking of you last night. I hope you are well. I love you, my friend. Tampa B says, I'm the opposite person, sleep on Adderall and wired on Benadryl. Wow. So the question becomes, where do you get any kind of research that we can look at in one way or the other that kind of sets us? But there's some pretty fascinating stuff being researched now. The world's kind of changing. Israel's done some pretty fascinating stuff with studies. One of the craziest things is, so the new neural pathway thing. One of the things that I was blown away by is that for people who really have very damaged brains, oddly enough, right, cannabinoids seem to be the only thing that actually regrows brain cells. Now, does it regrow negatively? I don't know. It might. I mean, it may. Truthfully, I have no idea. It's I don't know enough about it. I really don't. I do know the study. I know the study that talks about it regrowing or reigniting. I guess growing is probably not the right word. Reanimating damaged tissue. This is something I wasn't going down that rabbit hole because I thought it would make for a good show. Going down that rabbit hole because I got a spot right here that I would really like to figure out something that might slow down or do something to stave that off. So I've read a lot of studies on a lot of things. See, this is really a great comment. This is really a great comment, right? Cannabis can be amazing for some. Unfortunately, it wasn't great for someone like me who didn't realize they had a predisposition to schizophrenia. Surprise. Sucks to be me. Well, here's the thing. Do I think weed's going to kill anybody? I do not. I don't. Is it going to make you, freak out, beat your wife, your kids? No, I don't think it's going to do any of those things. I really don't. Of all of the substances that are on planet Earth that people can use to change their headspace, it is probably the least dangerous that I've encountered in my life. And therein lies the danger. You understand? This is my humble opinion. You can take this any way that you'd like, right? By the way, full disclosure, I ate 10 milligrams of THC last night to keep my dreams in a workable position because it really does wonders for PTSD dreams. I am sold. I fought it for a really, really long time, right? Fought it for a really long time. But it works, plain and simple. And I tried everything else. It's just that none of the other stuff worked. Now, does that mean I'm a weed advocate? Not so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a very kind thing to say. I'm not an advocate for it. I'm also not here to hack on it. I am of the firm belief that all of us are probably better off if our coping mechanisms in life are not attached to a buzz. You get that? I don't think your coping mechanisms should be attached to a buzz. If you're having a bad day and you need to do a line of cocaine to feel better, that's not cool. If you're having a bad day and you need 2 drinks to feel better, that's not good, right? I think that's my opinion. You go ahead and feel what you want. Now, I know a lot of people that used to do that line of cocaine every day, right? Or they used to smoke crack every day, and now they smoke a joint once a day. I'm never going to bust that person's, what's, because I just don't see that as a horrific trade. think that's a pretty good thing. Now, maybe down the road, it would be great if they could get to a point where when you really start getting upset about something, maybe you get out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen and you start writing about it. And if that doesn't get the job done, maybe you reach out to a friend 7,000 miles away and say, hey, man, can you give me a call? I'm really having one of those days. Right? If that doesn't work, there's 4 other people on that list I can call. I've never actually had to call a second person. The first person I talk to every single time has had me laughing before I hung up. I usually call really upset or really, pissed or whatever, frustrated. But that person will always have me laughing before I hang up. And that's usually enough so that I don't have to, right, snort a line, shoot something, do any of those things, right? That's it. That's the idea. Now, I don't care. I don't care if you're smoking pot. What do you think of that? And this may come as a really huge shock, but I'll tell you this too. I don't care if you're snorting coke. I really don't. My beef has never been with any drug. I think it would be really awesome if all of them we could actually do and none of us would have any problem. I think that would be great. I really do. I enjoyed the crap out of them. Sorry. I'm not here to say that it was awful. Oh, it was terrible. No, I enjoyed it. I just can't do it. I have zero ability to stop. Right? Can't stop. So I needed a whole new plan for how I was going to cope with life. Right? I wish, honestly, I wish there were substances I could use. This one right here. See this? This one, this is bad. It is, because I promise you, I use this as an anti-stress. That's what I use it for. It's not good. It's nicotine. And the level, I'm dropping the level, but I promise you, I do this because it's dopamine times 2. And for a short period of time, you go, oh man, it's a relax thing. But is it the end of the world? Well, I don't have any track marks, right? And it isn't $700 a day. I'd be shocked if it was $700 a year. But I'd like to stop. I really would. But for me, why am I not a weed advocate personally? Because here's what happens to me personally. This may not be you. This is me, right? It may not be you. But if I smoke a little weed, right, for about a week, maybe 2, I don't know, maybe 3, but not more than a month, right? At some point, my brain's going to go, what are you doing? No, no, you smoked this because it was going to get you to relax and get through whatever problem was in your life. That doesn't work, but the one that does. So why don't you go smoke that other stuff, the sticky stuff, and we'll be okay. And eventually, that's exactly what I will do. And I promise you, 30 days, probably less than that. But that's all roads lead for me. Is that everybody? Of course not. Do you know the number of people that I know who use weed every single day, who have 0 negative impacts on their life visibly? I mean, that's not, their bills are met, everybody's happy, everything seems to be good. Now, you don't know what's going on inside someone's head. You don't. I think in the best case scenario, your coping mechanisms are taught, not bought. Yeah. That's my humble opinion. I think you're way better off taught than bought when it comes to coping skills. Somebody write that down before I forget it. I smoked cigarettes 24 years, been vaping for 8. I get it, Tommy. Definitely stress relief. And I feel better than with the cigs. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, for God's sakes. They are definitely 2 different animals. I am not suggesting either. I promise you, I'm not suggesting either is good. Yeah? But let's go over this one more time for those who have not gotten the memo. One involves lighting something on fire and breathing the smoke deep into your lungs. Temperature. Forget all the other stuff. Tommy, do you know how many chemical temperature? Seriously, ask a doctor how lungs feel about 440 Fahrenheit versus room temperature. Seriously, it's just an absolute no brainer. Sorry, neither of them are good. Neither of them are good. Smoke and heat equals killer, absolutely. And then there's this like very large, very scientific, right? The Tommy Scoville scientific method. Take a cigarette, draw it into your lungs, take a towel and blow it through the towel, right? Then do the same thing with a vape. Tell me what happens. I've done it, by the way. Do it. Check it out. Very interesting stuff. One of them leaves a really cool stain in the shape of your lips that you can literally feel. The other one does not leave a mark. I do the organic vape too. Tammy, I do the organic vape too. And you can find this, people. They call it food grade. And if it's got a banana flavor, it's because they used bananas, right? They don't do anything with funky. Yeah, the guy in town brags about it. He's been doing it 11 years, I think he said. Very nice guy too. Once again, people, I am not here to tell you this is the greatest case scenario. I'm not here to say to you, get out there and get you some vape. Unless, of course, you're smoking 2 packs of Marlboros a day. In which case, I don't give a crap what they're putting into the vape. It's a better option. Harm reduction is a very cool concept. Yeah. Leave that out there. Pineapple. I've always been a mango fan. Tampa B says, my mom died of emphysema. My mom died at 52 and her mom at 53 of emphysema. It's no joke. Yet I vape. Again, definitely not it's not the best case scenario. It isn't. But the really insane thing? The really insane thing. Kathleen, you don't like mango, huh? Well, I don't buy disposable ones either. I'm buying real mango. So it's probably nothing is overbearing, and I'm not advocating any of this stuff, people. I'm really not. But it's what I do is mango. Like it came from the fruit. The flavors that people say, oh boy, don't do flavors. It's because they're adding these chemicals into this stuff. This stuff is food grade, and I'm not advocating. I'm just telling you. I promise I'm not taking the stuff that's going to give you popcorn along. If you read about it, I read about it. I promise. If you read about it, I read about it. Got a lot of time on my hands. It's what I do. And I can't watch TV. Can you imagine? All I do is read, people. I smoked 45 years and want to switch to vape, but not sure how to get started. I really love those Marlboros. Definitely addicting. Evil twin sister. You know what would be better? Seriously, see if you can skip the vape phase. Because if you haven't started vaping yet and you're still on Marlboros, try to go to one of the lozenge things, right? And just get the nicotine, because what you're looking for is nicotine. However, after that many years of smoking, there's probably a lot tied to the ritual, right? But if you can cut that out completely, you're in way better shape, right? You really are. You're just in way better shape. Do me a favor, Kay. I'm sorry to all of you. I love you all, okay? I love you all. This is what happens whenever we have a this is why we can't have nice things, right? For real. This is why we can't have nice things. It's like if I talk about Suboxone. I've done, I think, 6 Suboxone shows, maybe 7. You would think in 1,600 shows, I would have done it more than that. But if I do a harm reduction show of any kind, if I talk about weed and I do harm reduction, or if I talk about vape and I do harm reduction, or if I talk about friggin' anything, someone is going to come on and tell me how both of these things are equally the exact same. Do me a favor. When you do this, or when you say you're trading one drug for another, we'll use Suboxone as the example because it's the extreme. Someone who has never seen this show before, and about 20% or more of every video is someone who's never seen this before. they're going to look and go, oh man, if Suboxone's that bad, right? Losing their teeth, just it's harder to get off than this. I'll stick with fentanyl. I'll just go with the street drugs. Today in the United States, 350 people are going to overdose and die. None of them on Suboxone, right? But all of the most, boy, do I want to help you people on planet Earth, right? Everybody wants to be helpful. Let me explain something about harm reduction. If you're telling somebody that the lesser of the evils that they're getting ready to do is exactly the same, you're not helping. You're not. And I promise you, your science ain't backing that up. It's not. But let's go with that so that when people hear it, they go, screw it. If they're the same, I'll stick with Marlboros. I'll just keep breathing in 444 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Tar, nicotine, and all the rest, right? Harm reduction is a good friggin' thing. I've read what you've read. Jeez, people, it's all I do. And you know what? I got something else. When you read it, you sent it to me, all of you. If there's a really great study out there that says anything positive or negative on this, you already sent it to me. If you didn't, your best friend did. Or somebody that you never met from a different country did. But this is all I get. I love all of you. I really do. But when we do harm reduction shows, this is an absolute lock every single time. Let's not scare away anybody that's trying to do something a little less dangerous than what they're currently doing. Feel me? And maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Now, if you're going to go that route, try to get nicotine into your body using something that doesn't require your lungs. Now, the reason that most people can't do that is because, whether you realize it or not, your lungs will get it into your system faster than a needle will. I'm going to get arguments out the wazoo from people on this. I promise you it's a fact. You can research it. But yeah, the lung is the fastest delivery method to your body that you're going to get. As it goes in, that bloodstream is picking it up, taking it all the way around, as opposed to a shot, which goes in one spot, and then it's got the most effective delivery method of a drug into your body is through smoking. Fastest, boom, that's it. And that's why you watch somebody get off an airplane, right? Off of anywhere where somebody's been cooped up for hours on end, and you watch that person take that first hit, the relief is palpable. You can watch them. You know, you want a great example of this? There's a great, go Google interrogations, right? How many times that cigarette, right? The person's in there like this, and they give him the cigarette. Yeah, he leans back and goes, yeah, I got 9 bodies I'm going to give you by the end of the day. And you just go, holy hell, what just happened? It is such a unbelievable thing for the people who are addicted to it, right? How about $25 for a cigarette in federal prison? With a filter on the end of it, they're $25 a cigarette. They were 20 when I was in. Apparently they're 25 right now for a Taylor. Multiply that by 20. That's an expensive pack of cigarettes. All right. That's a really expensive pack of cigarettes. And there are guys in there that would buy cartons at that price if you could get them for them. What they usually smoke instead is the chewing tobacco that cops keep in their lips and then spit into a bottle and throw in the trash. They'll go get that out, right? Take out all of the stuff and let it dry in the sun and then roll that up and smoke that to get the nicotine. Think we're talking about an addictive substance? Huh? They're smoking it out of cops' mouths. Spit. Yeah, I would say that that's a pretty freaking addictive substance. About as ugly as it gets if you really want to know the truth. Zelda, there's a theory on this. Interesting. There's a theory on this that it's not just the carcinogens in the burnt matter, but there are also some theories concerning particularly Philip Morris and the type of materials used in their filters. Now, there's also some urban legends attached to that, right? And I know because we grew up in that time period. All of you could tell me right now the urban legends, right? It's fiberglass, rips holes into your lungs intentionally so it can get the nicotine in there. Well, there's no truth to that, but they certainly did use those things for a particular reason. It's foul all the way around. The amount of engineering that has gone into a regular cigarette would blow your mind, right? Those of you who are old enough will probably remember a time when cigarettes did not have lines on them, right? If you looked at a cigarette, they were white, and then you had a brown filter on the end of it. Now, if you look at them, there are, I don't know, 100, 200 lines, something like that, itty bitty little vertical lines. If you're holding the cigarette horizontally, these little lines going up and down. Those are to keep the cigarette from burning if somebody's not breathing it in. Follow me? The idea was, right, no fire safety rings, says Andrew. Correct. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. Nice. $3 a cigarette, huh? You know that I've never, like, if you're a drug addict, and I don't mean the kind of drug addict that parties on weekends or does drugs. I'm talking about if you've hit the street level, like you're out hustling, then chances are the bodega in your town sells single cigarettes illegally, right? I've never been in a hood that you couldn't walk into the bodega and buy one cigarette. You know, with this one here, they look around, you know, but you can go in and say, you know, here's $1, and they'll throw you a cigarette. Doesn't seem like a really good deal, but if all you got's $1 and you want a cigarette, you know, or 50 cents or whatever the number is, but they always, Lucy's, there you go. Whistleblowing Goodwitch knows. Lucy's. I'll tell you something else. Yeah, they call it Lucy's. There's another one. See, we got some hoods here. We got some people who spend time in the hood. Lucy's. How about this? Awful, right? You ever go in and say, I need a 1-in-1? How's that in the hood? In the hood that we were in, if Johnny Scoville was standing next to me, you know what a 1-in-1 was? 1-in-1 was a glass tube, flower buddy, right? And a ball of chore boy already rolled, right? It hadn't been burned yet, but a round ball of chore boy and a glass tube ready to go. So you just go outside, burn that stuff, and get ready to smoke crack. They call it a 1-in-1. Go, I need a 1-in-1 or a 2-in-1. That meant you needed 2 glass, right? Because they break real easily. But for those that have no idea what I'm talking about, you ever been checking out of a 7-Eleven and you notice that right near the checkout, they have little glass tubes with a red plastic rose in it? And you go, oh, look. Yeah, those are crack pipes. That's what those are, right? They call them flower buddies, right? The hell would you need a glass tube with a flower in it for? But you got to have a way to sell a crack pipe. You just can't say, yo, crack pipes, right? Chore boy. Yeah, those little roses. When I talk to parents, I'm talking about raising drug-free kids, guess what? Those little pieces of tin foil or cork, depending on what part of the country you're in. Funny as hell, but depending on what part of the country you're in, they seem to stop the crack pipe on the top, either with a very thin piece of foil that is lightly glued to the top of the crack pipe, or a little piece of cork, right, that covers the top. Either way. Now, there are some states that got slick and said, we're not letting this go on anymore. This is stupid. We let people buy crack pipes. You know what happens if you go into one of those states now? You can buy a disposable, looks like a clicker pen right next to the checkout. Guess what that pen's made of? They're going to get around everything always. But the world you live in, I promise you, it's insane, because the world you live in, we walk by things every single day that we don't see. Right? Like the fact that you can walk into just about any store and order a cigarette that's not in a pack. Is that safe? It's not legal. Promise you it's not legal. Right? But it's done, isn't it? Or where you can go buy a crack pipe. Right? With the chore boy ready to roll. This is the world we live in. right? This is the world we live in. You could buy a pill press, right? You could buy a pill press today. The first time I ever brought this up, I started going off, and I think it was 7th. I'm almost 100% sure it was 7th. And he sent me the price and everything else. Not only were they selling the pill press, right, which you could get, I won't tell you what platform, but you could probably guess. But right below that, it had the particular dyes, right? M30. Get your M30 dyes. We will sell you a machine to make fake Percocet. And then not follow the person that sold that to your house and bust you. What do you think the person might be doing with that? I'm all about freedom, people, right? I dig a free society more than just about anybody on planet Earth. In fact, I think you got a right to do with whatever you want with your body. I do. I'm a libertarian. I think if that means you want to put heroin in your body or cocaine in your body, you should be able to. I don't think the government should be able to tell you what you can do. I don't. But since this is the world that we live in, right? Boy, people. Yeah, it's pretty funny. The world that we live in currently, empty soda can will work, says Debbie P, but not unless you put at least, one full cigarette full of ash on the top of it. Again, for those not in the know, so you can absolutely smoke crack off of a tin can, but the crack likes to just go through the holes that you poke in the tin can, like you would do with making a weed pipe. So you got to smoke a cigarette and dump your ashes on the top and leave a little bit of ash, and then you put your rock on top of that. Terrible, right? If I'm triggering any crack smokers, leave and come back tomorrow. I promise we will be talking about it. But used to drive down the street cooking it while driving. Used to drive down the street cooking it while driving, for real. Hated the can, says Bye You Babe. Oddly enough, I was always a big fan of what looked remarkably like a bong. Big glass tube. What do I think of Soma? Carisoprodol. Soma's a fascinating drug. Here's why. Mara has a question. Hold on, let me see. Did I miss Mara? Hold on, Mara. Where are you? Why do I have a feeling? I see a lot of people praying for Mara. A lot of people sending positive thoughts. Where are you, Mara? Is that the question I'm answering right now? So here's the thing with Soma. Soma compound is a muscle relaxer. What makes it fascinating is that they wrote about it in a book before it was actually Tommy. I was on 400 milligrams of oxy a day, and it has to be taken off. Wow, that's a lot. The doctor put me on Soma, but I'm having weird tremors and palsies. Rather not go back to oxy, but I'm scared. Is this permanent? Okay, Mara, what's odd is that you were taking 400 milligrams of OxyContin and the doctor moved you to Soma. You're having tremors because you're in withdrawals. One of those is an opiate and the other is a muscle relaxer, right? So if you were taking oxy for any length of time, you were addicted to it, dependent physically. Switching you to Soma is not going to, you're basically kicking the oxy. The Soma is going to make it a lot easier to kick because you're going to be very relaxed. Carisoprodol does just what it says it's going to do. It relaxes the muscles. And they do give that to people who are kicking, but it's not an opiate. So you are going to get dope sick, right? Withdrawal sickness is probably what you're going through. And yes, it will pass. But I bet you it's more than just tremors and palsies. I would imagine that there's a lot of other uncomfortable things going on, Mara, because that's very how long were you on oxys would be my question, because if you were on you really need to talk to another doctor. Or we don't know the whole story, but that's a weird trade, right? Like that's a doctor doesn't normally if a doctor would normally say to you, here's what we're going to do. Let's try to get you off of the oxy, right? Get you stable and off the oxy. Best way to do that's probably with a drug called buprenorphine, right? If we're trying to do a fast taper, buprenorphine, right, which is the active ingredient in Suboxone, is usually what is given to people so that you do not go through the tremors and the palsies and all that, right? They take you off over the course of about 14 days. That's a super friggin' ridiculous dose to say to somebody, now we're just going to move you to Soma. Your doctor's a moron. I mean, honestly, if that really went down the way it did, that's odd. Really, really odd, Mara. You need to. So look, they come in, let's say if you were taking them in 50s, right? And that's an odd dose. 40s is 80. How many, what is 80 going to 45 times? 5/8 a day? It's a lot. It's a lot of dope. That really is. That's a lot of dope. On Oxy for a year, got taken down a year ago on my own. Said Soma would help with pain, but now it's doing weird things. Got you. So you were already off of the oxys. Normally, muscle relaxers don't. This is not a side effect that most people talk about but talk to your doctor and tell him, exactly what is happening. Right? These are the symptoms that I am going through. If you don't mind me asking, what was the original pain? What was the mechanism, Mara, that started this? For quitters, would seeing a preteen smoke? It's a great question, isn't it? It really is. That's a great question. Would I hate seeing kids vape. Here's the thing. I vape, right? I'm still vaping, but there is such a funny. If you've ever seen how Family Guy treats vaping, it's the funniest thing in the whole world, and it is absolutely the truth. I hate to say it, but when you vape, you can't not look like a d-bag. You just can't. And that's the punchline in that show, is that instantly, as soon as someone vapes, they're automatically, like, their shirt changes, they get a man bun, all these things happen. Zenwem, you do rock. I must agree. Mara, talk to your doctors. Please talk to your doctors. And there needs to be, and this is everybody. This isn't just you, but this is everybody. You got to communicate with your doctors. I've abused the crap out of Soma, right? For real. When I was in Texas, and I used to drive down to the border and bring stuff back. And Soma was one of the things that I used to bring back every single time. And that was, I've never experienced anything like that, but you have got to talk to your doctor. Please talk to your doctor. I am on this nicotine vape constantly and have noticed I get severe waves of heat in my head and works its way downwards. Also feel like I'm not getting enough air. Debbie, that sounds awful. Honestly, that sounds awful. I have only once in my existence had a wave of heat happen to me from nicotine. It happened on a really high dose that somebody said, you want to try this? It was a vape, and I hit the vape to see what it was, a taste thing. He's like, you got to taste this. And I mean, my head spun, and I got this heat. I just said, what the hell was that? And he's like, oh, it's probably more nicotine than you're used to. And I was like, oh man. I mean, it was really, really uncomfortable. But Debbie, I would talk to my doctor too. That does not sound good at all. That does not sound good at all. Yeah, it is a genius mantra. Never quit quitting is a genius mantra, because very few people get it right on the first try. Mr. Johnny Stovall is a recovering, I use the word alcoholic. I guess they don't like that word anymore. Now he is someone who had alcohol abuse disorder. You know what? junkie alcoholic. Yeah, but he did it on the first try. It happens. It just doesn't happen all. It's like Waldo. Are you heading outside to do your thing?
Yeah.
Are you going to work? What do I think of Audubon? Audubon is let me see, Audubon, lorazepam. I did a lot of lorazepam in my life. I think I've told the story on the boat before, but when I was in Texas, I had a girl that used to trade me one drug for another. And that's the drug I wanted. And the drug that she wanted was dexedrines. And it was because, like Tampa B was saying earlier, the Dexies would knock her out. And I was a fan of the lorazepam because of the fact that it would knock me out. But it does that. It is an excellent and an effective drug for what it does. Audubon, like Audubon. It's Audubon. That's it. What did you hear? Ativan? Is that what you're expecting? Well, you could say Ativan or Audubon, or either way, however you say it. It's lorazepam. It is a benzodiazepine, and that benzodiazepine is, in theory, supposed to help you deal with anxiety disorders, help you calm down, help you get through situations that are stressful. Does it work? Perfectly. It does. It's a wildly effective drug for that. Now, if you suffer from anxiety disorder and there are times that anxiety gets the better of you, this is great. And I think it's a good thing to have if you need it. If you take it every single day, you're talking about a drug that can kill you if you quit cold turkey. That's all benzodiazepines. They are not a joke. This is as serious as life-threatening a drug as there is out there, right? You can quit heroin cold turkey and nothing's going to happen to you life-threatening. Now, if you have a heart condition, like there are exceptions to the rules, but the average heroin addict, you can throw him in a room and let him defecate and vomit all over himself, and he's going to get better, right? It's going to happen within a week or two. But you do that with somebody that is addicted to Valium or Klonopin or something like that, they have an excellent chance of not being with you, right? They will seize up and die. It's just how it is. Avina Sativa says, I have been on clonazepam for 23 years. I'm like 50 years old, and by the time the withdrawals stop, I'll be around 60 or 70. So my anxiety needs benzos to function. You betcha it does. I mean, I'm not being disrespectful or anything else, but I would be really surprised if that's a long time to be on Klonopin. And Klonopin is about the top of the food chain, right? At least for prescribed stuff. I mean, there's some others that don't get prescribed very often. There are a couple of heavy duty, ludicrous, you got to be kidding me kind of painkillers out there. They do, benzos rather. But this is about the gnarliest that they're going to write a prescription for. The, what do they call it? The Mexican version is called, you see a lot of them on this, Rivotril. Duloxetine and bupropion are not benzos. Neither of those are benzos. Both of those are antidepressants, but they are not benzos. It's benzos. Like, listen, you got lorazepam, diazepam, alprazolam, right? All of them sound like AM. They all have that same kind of sound to it, right? Brazy's got it. PAMs are the benzos. Yeah, the PAMs tend to be, if it ends in AM, right? Jason P says, my dad was addicted to lorazepam and Soma. Wow. He would script shop, was a walking zombie most of his life. If you're mixing those two drugs, I'm sorry, Jason. I really am. Love you, brother. But yes, if you're mixing those two drugs, you're going to be a zombie. Either or will absolutely make you a zombie, right? Enough lorazepam will do it if you're taking it every day. Lorazepam is another one of those drugs, very much like Ativan, right? Xanax. When people started doing these things, they were quarter milligram, half milligram, right? And then every once in a while, you would see somebody that, was on the ones, right? You got a 1 milligram pill. And now I think they have 5s. I don't know if they have 10. I've been out for a while, right? But these bars, no one should, you don't need 5 friggin' milligrams. I don't know what the hell you could possibly need 5 milligrams of Xanax for, and the thing is this, I understand that you build up. You see what's, perfect example is someone who says, I've been on, Klonopin for 23 years. Okay, well, they're going to have to start making some stronger Klonopin, right? For people, or Xanax. What if you've been on Xanax for 30 years? You're going to need more of it. Sorry. Those are drugs that do build tolerance. Tried to stop Xanax on my own and seizure baby 10 times. I had to be hospitalized the whole bit. So once you're on it, it's very hard to come off. Just be careful. Mark, thank you for saying this. Everybody hear this, please. Huh? What a lesson from Mark. Please. This stuff can kill you. Tammy says, started on 25 milligrams, didn't know the doctor was a quack. You know what? Here's the thing. I don't know that they're quack as I feel bad for doctors, man. Honest to God, I do. Like, I walk into a doctor's office and I sit down, right? And he's got me for what? 20 minutes? Right? Maybe 30 minutes. And in that time, I describe my life and I very well may walk in the door and say to him, Doc, I want Xanax. Didn't used to be that way. We didn't even know the names of drugs back in the day because they didn't advertise them on television and they weren't in every single movie. But, ask the average 15-year-old if they know what a Xanax is. It'll bum you out. I promise you. Hey, I just got prescribed Klonopin. How often can I actually use it without getting a crippling addiction to it? I'm going to answer that in 1 second. There are natural resources that can replace most big pharma meds, which are synthetic forms of natural sources. And information is key. It is. Sadly, most of the stuff that you can use, they're not going to let you get anywhere near, right? I mean, honestly, if in a perfect world, you'd probably grow enough poppies to create enough pain tincture for you and your family, right? Like that would be in the perfect world. We wouldn't need big pharma. We wouldn't need any of that. But try growing some poppies, right? Try doing any of the things that you would need to do to try to, because the government, I've told you the story, right? I was using Silk Road and getting drugs delivered directly to my house. But the only time they ever showed up was when I ordered an anti-cancer tea from South America, Padiarco. That brought the feds. Yeah. Cocaine didn't. Heroin didn't. I was buying Quaaludes. Ridiculous. Ron, who reminds me a lot of Max Headroom. Hey, I just got prescribed Klonopin. How often can I actually use it without getting a crippling addiction to it? Well, that's the question, isn't it? Right? That's like the $10 million question. And there's not an answer to that. For some people, I don't know, you could probably take it every day for a couple of months and not develop some kind of a crippling addiction to it. If you gave me Klonopin, right, the doctor wrote me that prescription, I would imagine by the end of the first week, I would be cripplingly addicted to it. No, but that's me. I can't answer that for you, Jason. What I would tell you is this. If your goal is to make sure that you never get addicted to this stuff, by the way, I'm not busting your chops. I don't care why you got it prescribed. But let's do it this way for all parties involved. If you are taking Klonopin, right, or any benzo for that matter, and you're trying to do it to catch a buzz, right, don't do this on a daily basis, you will develop a habit and a tolerance very, very quickly. Do not mix it with anything else. Benzos do not play well with others. There's an old adage, 1 + 1 = 3. That means if you take a Xanax and you drink a beer, it's like having 3 Xanax. 1 + 1 = 3. Bad mix, right? Don't mix it with heroin or painkillers or any other drug that slows down your respiration. Now, if you're going to party on benzos, you just found the top of the food chain for benzos. Maybe start with a Valium, right? Valium is a drug that you could take that would be a much less chance of messing you the hell up. Now, I'll tell you something else about Klonopin that's fun. Put a beer on it. One, and you're not going to remember what the hell you did, right? Klonopin has a way of making you black out that is remarkably similar to Rohypnol. In fact, when roofies were taken off of the market, right, across the board, the drug that replaced them was Rivotril. Now, Rohypnol used to say ROCHE, like Roche, right? Guys would call them roaches. And then on the back of it, it had a number 2, right, with a circle on it and a line that went through it. Now, that was the roofie. The Rivotril is identical in every way, except when you turn it over, it had a cross on it. Instead of 1 line, it had 2 lines. But for a long time, the people on the street weren't even sure of the difference, unless you did a bunch. You know, it took 4 or 5 months before people realized that they had swapped it out. But the danger in this crap is that when alcohol gets mixed with it, you're going to black out. You're going to black the hell out. And that's a terrifying thing. Nothing good comes from that. You understand? Nothing good comes from that. So very, very, it's just a dangerous drug. And it needs to be, respected to beat hell. You feel? It has to be respected to beat hell. So how often can you do it? I wouldn't, as a addict, I can't do any drug 2 days in a row. That's me. I can't do any drug 2 days in a row, because if I do, I'm going to do it a third day. And by that third day, I'm screwed. That's just the way it goes. If I'm doing it and I didn't get it from a doctor, I'm in trouble. How's that? That's an easy one too. And if you follow it exactly what's written on the label, you might still be in trouble. Honestly, because doctors are not particularly concerned about you staying on the drug, because they figure, well, you have an anxiety problem. You need to be on the drug, right? And perhaps that's the case. But what I was saying is, if this is a party drug, know what you're getting into. It is a rowdy drug. Oh. I fell off the toilet and broke my nose on dope and clonazepam. I'm lucky to be alive with all the times I've OD'd. You know what, hun? I'm so glad you're alive. I really am. I'm so glad you're alive. I know exactly how how scary that is. I have never overdosed. Oddly enough, I don't overdose. I've never been that guy. But I have watched it happen to so many people, I can't explain it. Avina, I would really, really be happy if that never happens, right? So you're on clonazepam now. You're not taking any opioids, correct? Tommy, do you carry Narcan? Yes, I do. I absolutely do, and so should every one of you. You understand? Absolutely, you should. Everybody should. You understand? It's absolutely essential that you got this. And anybody, if you do not have it, go get it. Yes, benzos and fentanyl are probably the worst combination of the two that you could come up with. I don't know that you could come up with anything worse. Because, well, Let me take that back. Xylazine, right? And nitazines. And guess what, folks? We've done, like, we were ahead of the curve. We've bragged about the fact that we really were ahead of the curve on nits, right? We were talking about nitazines before anybody else was talking about nitazines. Well, there was a bunch of stuff on the news about it. We just lost some people in Colorado. Yeah, nits are getting bad there too. I'm going to be doing another show about it. Boy, I'd love to get Mark Wages to come on and do it with me, because I'm not happy that this is happening at all. And I'm not happy that we're right. And we said at the time, we're not going to be happy about this when we're right. But I promise you, we're going to come back and say we're right. And we are. And we need to do that, because I want you to, the next time, right, when we say this is the next one coming and we're a year ahead or a year and a half ahead, I know a lot of people that do dope. And then the people that I didn't know, right? All of the people, all of you who I knew nothing about, now reach out and tell me how much stuff costs in your town, right? How much dope this, I am plugged in ways that I didn't know I could be plugged in. Do me a favor, Avina, and send me an email to tommyscoville@gmail.com. Please do that for me. Please. I got a couple of questions I would like to ask you, and I don't want to ask you in front of the whole world. If you could do that. Most pharmacies in America, in theory, all of them, but most will give it to you. Go and ask them. If they say that they don't do that, give them hell. I mean it, because they're supposed to. See this fluffy thing? That is a cat in a basket. And one of the great cats of all time. I think almost every pharmacy will do it. They're supposed to. They are supposed to. So, all right, people. I would love to hang out and talk with you for longer, but I'm going to go pray for all of you, and I'm going to do it where I do my praying on Sundays. All right. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and I'll see you guys on the next one. I love you. Spanky, we'll see you on the next one too, buddy. Love you. Cancel. Sorry about that. There we go. And